There was a time when Star Wars meant something more than just content, when each new project felt like an event, like a chapter in a story bigger than all of us. It didn't matter if you were old trilogy or new trilogy or somewhere in between. It was myth, it was memory, it was magic. But something shifted. Quietly at first, then all at once. The galaxy didn't feel far away anymore. It felt empty. Like the stars were flickering out one by one. Not from age, but from apathy. And right in the middle of that collapse stood a show that promised to be the beginning of something new. The Acolyte walked in wearing mystery-like armor, pretending it had answers to questions no one asked. Rewriting what didn't need fixing. Erasing what made us care in the first place. It looked polished. It sounded profound. But deep down, it was hollow. Characters came and went, like echoes with no origin. The Force was no longer sacred, and the lore that once held generations together became a loose thread in the wind. We watched, hoping, waiting, aching for one spark of soul, one glimpse of the Force that used to bind this universe together. Instead, we got silence. Not the thoughtful kind. The kind that says nothing because it has nothing to say. And fans didn't rage this time. They sighed. They turned away. Not in hate, but in heartbreak. That's what made this one different. It didn't burn bridges. It let them rot. In this video, we're breaking down how the Acolyte quietly unraveled the last thread of Star Wars hype. How it left fans numb instead of inspired. How its failure wasn't just about writing or pacing, but about losing the very heartbeat of the franchise. And why that loss might be the wake-up call the galaxy needs. So let's talk about the Acolyte, the show that was supposed to change everything. Before it dropped, there was this weird energy in the air. Like maybe this was the one that would finally do something fresh, something bold, something the franchise desperately needed. It had all the ingredients on paper, a brand new timeline. No Skywalkers, a mystery deep in the High Republic. New characters, new ideas. It sounded like freedom. A clean slate for Star Wars to finally take a risk and find a new identity. And for a moment, people believed again. The trailers were moody, the tone was darker, and the promise of exploring the Sith through a different lens had fans raising eyebrows in the best way. It wasn't just hype, it was curiosity. That rare spark that made you lean forward and wonder what they were building behind the scenes. Even the title felt weighty, mysterious. The Acolyte sounded like it carried secrets, like it might reveal something ancient and powerful that had been buried for centuries. The potential was massive, the anticipation was real. And for a moment, Star Wars felt unpredictable again. But that's just it. It was all smoke, all set up, all empty promise, wrapped in glossy visuals and high-budget choreography. And once it aired, once the mystery was gone, all that curiosity turned into something else entirely. From the jump, it felt off, like the tone was trying to be edgy without earning it. Characters talked like they were in a modern drama, not a galaxy rooted in myth and history. There was no rhythm to the dialogue, no weight to the world-building, just surface-level noise, dressed up as depth. You can feel the writers reaching for relevance, like they wanted to make big statements without understanding the world they were writing in. Lore was rewritten, the Force was reframed, and suddenly nothing felt sacred anymore. They broke the rules without building new ones. Every time the show tried to be clever, it came off like it didn't trust the audience, like it had two spoon-feed themes while pretending to subvert them. There's a difference between challenging fans and insulting them, and the Acolyte crossed that line early and kept going. Characters are introduced with heavy stares and dramatic lines, but none of them feel lived in. None of them carry the burden of history, of war, of legacy. They feel like sketches, like placeholders in a fanfic that got $100 million budget. It's style over soul, flash over feeling. And the worst part is, it didn't have to be this way. There was something there, underneath the noise. But it got buried by self-importance and shallow execution. And when you peel it back, all that's left is frustration that this was the show they chose to carry the banner. There's a real sadness in watching something you once loved drift into something unrecognizable. And the Acolyte didn't just miss the mark. It stepped so far outside of what Star Wars used to be that it made some people stop caring altogether. That's the heartbreak. This franchise used to live in people's hearts, not just on screens. It inspired generations. It shaped dreams. And whether you were drawn to the Jedi, the rebellion, the redemption, there was always something human at the center of it. That center feels gone now. The show treats legacy like baggage, like something to reject instead of elevate. It doesn't carry the torch. It tries to blow it out. And the result is something that looks like Star Wars, sounds like Star Wars, but feels completely hollow underneath. You sit there watching, waiting for the spark to come back, for something to click, for a moment of awe or emotion. But it never lands. You feel detached, like a guest at a funeral where nobody wants to admit what was lost. and the silence between scenes becomes the loudest part. It's more than disappointment, it's grief. Not because the show was bad, but because it could have mattered. It could have brought new life to a universe that means so much to so many. Instead, it left a void, and not the kind you can just fill with nostalgia. But let's be real for a second. The Acolyte did have moments where the ambition showed. You could tell someone behind the scenes had a vision, a dream of making something grand and cinematic, something that looked and sounded unlike anything else in the franchise. The fight choreography was slick, sharp, and brutal in a way we hadn't seen before. The cinematography had real effort behind it, with lighting and framing that felt closer to prestige television than pulpy space opera, and when the show paused just long enough, there were flashes of brilliance. One or two moments in particular hit hard. A silent death, a lingering glance, a flicker of pain in a villain's eyes. You could feel the seeds of something great, just buried under the wrong soil. If it had leaned into those instincts more, maybe we'd be having a different conversation. Even the score had a pulse, something alien and haunting, something that hinted at a world deeper than what was on screen. The idea of exploring the dark side's origin, the birth of imbalance. That's powerful stuff, and when it almost gets there, you hold your breath, because it makes you wonder, what if this had been done with more care? What if the writers trusted the world instead of trying to reshape it? The AEW was there, flickering like a dying star, but it never got the oxygen it needed to burn bright. And still, there's this tiny spark that refuses to die. Because even in failure, Star Wars fans don't walk away forever. They get mad, they speak out, they mourn, but they don't forget why they cared in the first place. And that's where the hope lives. The backlash to the Acolyte isn't just about quality. It's about love, about protection, about a fan base that knows what this galaxy can be, and refuses to settle for less. It's not bitterness, it's belief. Belief that Star Wars can rise again if the right hands are guiding it. People are creating their own stories, fan edits, essays, conversations that go deeper than the show ever did. And in those spaces, you see the future. Not in Disney's boardrooms, but in living rooms, and online threads, and passionate voices, refusing to be silenced. This show might have let people down, but it also reminded them of what they want, what they miss, what they still believe is possible. Star Wars isn't dead, it's just in recovery. And every time a fan creates, shares, or speaks truth to the franchise, that recovery speeds up. So yeah, maybe the Acolyte dropped the torch, but it didn't kill the flame. And sometimes, that's all you need. A few people keeping the fire alive, until the galaxy remembers how to shine again. But in the end, we can't ignore the damage. The Acolyte wasn't just a misstep, it was a warning. A symbol of what happens when a franchise forgets its foundation. It tried to tell a new story without understanding the old ones, and in doing so, it lost the trust of an entire generation. This wasn't just another bad show. It was supposed to be a turning point, a bold step into the unknown. Instead, it became the breaking point for many. The moment they stopped counting down to the next episode. The moment the hype faded into silence. There's something tragic about that. Something hollow about watching anticipation turn into apathy. Because Star Wars was always more than entertainment. It was belief, in good and evil, in balance and destiny, in family and sacrifice. And when those things disappear, the magic goes with them. You can see the cracks now, not just in the show, but in the fandom, in the conversations that used to be electric and joyful, now marked by exhaustion and caution. It's not just that people are tired, it's that they're wounded, and those wounds run deep. So maybe the Acolyte didn't kill Star Wars, but it came closer than anything before it. Not with malice, but with misunderstanding. Not with a lightsaber, but with silence. And silence in Star Wars is the loudest tragedy of all. Thank you for watching the whole video. I make videos because of my love for Star Wars and Marvel. I've been asked countless times how I get my subtitles, and I generate them automatically with a tool I built. That same tool can be used here on my website. It's completely free and doesn't require signing up. My website contains the subtitle generator that is perfect for any video. Blogging post, where you can sign up with your email and receive notifications for when I post, and also my 3 channels. Critical Analysis Hub focuses on Star Wars and Marvel movies. Critical Analysis Hub Plus looks at Star Wars and Marvel shows. And Critical Analysis Hub XP centers on video games, like The Last of Us series, Jedi Survivor, and GTA 5. Thank you for being a fan.